Vocation examples. If you want to know some examples of vocations that you could do, watch this video till the end so you know not only some examples of vocations, but also learn a little bit more about what a vocation is and how it has transformed throughout the years. If you like this video, remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell below. Also hit the like button and comment below with any questions that you may have or any other things that you might want to add. So at the very beginning, the word vocation came more from the Catholic Church, and it really meant somewhere more along the lines of a gift or a talent that you received from God and something that you were supposed to use in favor of your community and in favor of God's mission. In other words, like you had a talent that you had to nurture and use for others, right? In that sense, usually when it comes to that definition that is very narrow, and that it's very religious, it came to you will have different kinds of vocations in the Catholic Church, and that were, for example, you could become a nun, you could become a priest, you could potentially just reproduce, which is another thing that was part of the mission of people as Catholics. In other words, to reproduce, to have more people follow the word of the Lord and all those things. And in a way, some people can describe it as you either had a vocation in the religion itself, like I mentioned, like being a priest or being someone else who runs some parts of the church, some aspects of it, like an administrator, something along those lines. You could be a teacher, right? You could also lead a single life, or you could lead a married life. The married one is the one that we mentioned before with regards to the reproduction and all those things. But at the end of the day, that very narrow definition of the word vocation is how it all started. But that's no longer the case. So not to bore you down, because I know that many of you may not have anything to do with being Catholic or not. We're going to move on, but if you're Catholic, let me know in the comments section below, and we can talk more about those vocations of vocation of priesthood and all those things. Even though I'm not religious myself, I've read a lot about the subject, and I could share more about it. In the more, let's say, as time went on, and in the more modern society now, vocation took a different kind of meaning, and that's that now you have many trade schools or vocational educational programs or vocational schools, and usually what they really mean by that is that they are preparing you to do a kind of occupation or work that doesn't really require you to go to college and get like a degree, like a bachelor's or a master's or a PhD, for example. And that is one of the ways in which people can see the word vocation. Some examples of occupations that fall under this category will be being a plumber, like dealing with pipes and all the waterways that have to do with a house or a building, right? And fixing those. Another one might be being a hairstylist, being a barber. You don't actually need to go to college or school or get a diploma for that. You might need a certification in some places. You might need to obviously learn your craft, but that's pretty much it. You learn how to do it, and then that's it. You can start getting clients, right? You could be a salesperson, doesn't necessarily need a degree, depending on the industry. You could be an electrician, you could be a truck driver. The list goes on and on. There are many different examples of vocations that simply don't need you to go to college or anything like that, and you can just maybe get a certification and start working right away. In some cases, some examples of these, like being welders or potentially being a coordinator at an airport in terms of being a dispatcher of planes, can be very lucrative relative to the fact that you didn't actually have to go to college and get a degree and spend all that time doing that necessarily. But at the same time, it goes all over the place. So some of them can pay very well, others not necessarily. But at the end of the day, you're either putting a lot of hard work mentally or physically in order to get that higher pay But if this sounds like something that might interest you, you can always just watch some more of my videos or just research on Google on what are some of the vocations that might interest you if you're thinking about it more from the lenses of like a trade. Like you don't need to actually go to college or whatever, right? But that is also a definition that is somewhat narrow. So as time has gone on and we have been in the information society now for a while, the word vocation has taken an even more general meaning. And that meaning is the one that you find on the modern dictionaries now. And that's that a vocation is just basically any occupation, as long as you feel specially called to it, or not even. Sometimes it's just a synonym for the word occupation. And it's easy to see this when you see, I don't know, you could see people who have studied a lot, gone to college, have nothing to do with religion, and yet you can see it in them. Maybe you see a doctor who really likes doing what they do. They have a vocation for medicine, for helping others, and this is the way they do it. So that's their occupation, that's their vocation. And it has nothing to do with just being a trade that you didn't go to college to, right? Like I mentioned before. Similarly, for any other occupation out there, if you're a cop, if you are a lawyer, or even if you decided to just stay in the church, if you are Catholic yourself or from another religion, and you're doing something that you really like, that you feel really drawn to, that you're especially good for, that you feel like you have talent for it, and that's what you're doing. So those are some examples that we could talk about in that way. But now that we're talking about the information society, and pretty much any occupation is potentially a vocation, the meaning of the word is so general that now you could potentially just be an entrepreneur online. You're building a business online. You're using social media for marketing, for brand awareness, for people to know about you and that you exist. And that still can be your vocation. Maybe you're the type of person who's helping people through coaching or consulting, or maybe you're the kind of person who creates an educational course on something that you know how to do very well. Or maybe you have an e-commerce business and that's something that you really feel passionate about, and that is your vocation, right? So that's part of why I'm building this channel and being part of it, in order to contribute and talk a little bit more about it, what vocation means now in this more developed society, in terms of like anything can be a vocation. Even a hobby that you have that you really enjoy, you can always just turn that into your main occupation and make a vocation of it, make a good living of it. Now, comment below if any of this makes sense to you so far. And if it doesn't make sense, comment as well. So this leaves us with the question of, okay, what are some examples of vocation, right? Vocation examples. Well, like I mentioned, it depends on how you see it. If you see it as the way I see it, which is the more general way, anything that you do, whether it's a traditional occupation or you're doing something by yourself online, something that's new, innovative, that can also be your vocation. But maybe you came into this video thinking of, hey, I just want examples of trades or occupations I could do without necessarily going to a college and spending that much in tuition. If so, I already gave you some examples before, but if you want to learn more about that, you can always look for more of my videos, or simply search on Google, okay, like vocations or trades. If you look for trades, that's a better term if you want to specifically look for occupations that don't need those requirements that we mentioned before. Other than that, if you are one of the few who's watching this and you are more from a religious category, and especially if you are a Catholic, then I think I gave you a few examples of those. And again, if you want more in-depth advice on that, you can always either search the net or let me know in the comments, and we can produce more content for that if that's something that you guys will be interested in. Alright, so now you know what are some examples of vocations, what are some vocation examples. And you know also a little bit about the history of the word itself and its use, and how it could potentially mean different things depending on who you're asking or what you yourselves are looking for. That's why I tried to make this video a little bit more generalized, so that you will get an idea whether you were coming from one group or the other. In that sense, let me know if you like this video, hit the like button below. Comment if you have any questions, or there was something you didn't like or something you would like me to go more in-depth in. And remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you get more of the videos that you might be looking for at this point in your life.